difficult for giraffe to regurgitate with such a long necks? I don't think so. I think they adapted very well, and I think it's great that we're able to follow it. We can't really see the ball of cud going up and down many of the other species' necks, so it's quite nice. So no, I don't think so. I think that they have been assembled wonderfully, and yes, even though they do have long necks, I think regurgitating the food is probably not one of the hardest tasks that they have to perform. I think drinking water must be a little bit more difficult, because firstly, it's not just trying to get their head down to the surface of the water. They first got to do the splits. So, and I don't know about you, I can't do the splits. Sebastian, can you do the splits?
No.
You've got to be seriously flexible. Sebastian says no, he can't also do the splits. So I think that giraffe needs to do a couple of stretches first, warm its muscles up. Then it has to spread its legs right out. Have you seen that? It's amazing. And if you've ever tried to do that, if you put your legs as far apart as they can go and try and put your head to the floor, unless you are a yoga master, it's impossible for most of us to do that. So Skip, I think regurgitating the food is not the problem. I think trying to get down to have a drink is quite hard. And I imagine trying to drink upside down. Every now and then I try and drink upside down when I have hiccups, because that's supposedly supposed to help and get rid of them. But you always see them, they take a big sip and then they throw their heads back up again, and losing a lot of water and spitting saliva everywhere when they come back up like that too. So I think that's more difficult. Hey, big man, do you agree with me? Could you possibly just come over this way and drink some water so we can demonstrate to everybody that has never seen a giraffe drinking water on how difficult it actually is? And maybe if you've got some pictures, some screenshots of giraffe drinking water already, you can hashtag Safari Live with him, dig in the archives, and just show everybody the most amazing positions that a giraffe is able to get itself in to perform a simple task such as drinking water. But even though he's one of the tallest creatures out here, I think it's fascinating that he disappears just behind the bushes. So he seems to be done now when it comes to regurgitating food. Now he needs to obviously refuel his stomachs. So he's going to just munch on some fresh vegetation now. Hey boy, have you seen a leopard also, by the way? I just want to find out if you've seen a leopard, Mr. Giraffe. You can let me know. You can swish your tail twice and blink once, and then I should be able to guess. Yes. Hello, beautiful boy. Wow. Now, this is an interesting question that's come through from Lulu. And the question is, are giraffe one of the safer animals out in the bush? Lulu, I'm actually going to blow your mind right now. I'm going to say no. Looking at a giraffe, you think, oh, but it's so sweet. It just eats leaves. How could this animal possibly hurt me? I know of a case where a giraffe actually killed a person down in the Eastern Cape. This giraffe, though, was hand-raised, so it did have a more intimate relationship with humans. It knew that it could get food from humans. When it was quite young, it was bottle-fed, and obviously this causes massive problems. And I think that giraffe just got too excited, and being trampled by one is fairly easy, but they've got very powerful legs. Very, very powerful legs, and if you get too close to a giraffe and it feels threatened, just as it would if a lion or a leopard or something would get too close, they will kick and chop at you. So chopping with the front hooves, sort of kicking their legs forward, and then their hind legs, a very powerful, sort of kick to the back, just as a horse would, or a donkey, or anything else that likes to kick, even a zebra. And that would knock you straight off of your feet, I can tell you that right now. So the chances of you getting close to a giraffe, unless it was a tame one or one that had many encounters with humans, probably quite slim, so you should be okay. I've had an encounter with a couple of young giraffe. I went to an ostrich centre in Oudtshoorn, which is in South Africa, near the Kango Caves, and there were two young giraffe. They were about, I think, with 6 months and about 8 months, or somewhere around there, but just shy of a year. And they were taller than what I was, and they were going to feed them. What had happened was the mothers had died at various intervals. They weren't sure why, and the little ones were on their own, so they made the decision. It wasn't a free roaming reserve like what we have out here, so they made the decision to bring them in and to give them a second lease at life, so they started bottle feeding them. So I went in and I watched this whole process. I was obviously just fascinated to see a giraffe up close, and I got to touch one and I got to look at the hooves, and while they were feeding the young giraffe, the 6-month-old giraffe, it actually took a step to the left, and of course they're tall, so their stride is much bigger than mine, and then it ended up standing on my foot. My goodness, the pain that caused me was unbelievable. Their hooves are also so sharp underneath. Remember, there's no farriers out here to come and tend and give the giraffes manicures. So firstly, it felt like its hoof was about to cut through my leather shoe and stab me. And then, of course, the weight that came with all of that giraffe was impressive. So I wouldn't want to be stood on by an adult giraffe, let alone a giraffe that only is 6 months old. So I won't be doing that again anytime soon. But an amazing experience. To see its tongue, like I said, I got to see everything up close. And they're also quite soft, actually. I'm trying to describe, I don't know how to describe how they feel, but those little ones, because I suppose their coats weren't spoiled yet, they hadn't spent too much time out in the wilderness and to the harsh environment, so it was still lovely and soft. It was lovely. But what are you looking at now? Let me look where the giraffe's looking. I suppose I better turn my head, because he could spot something a lot quicker than I would. He doesn't look too phased though, he doesn't look too stressed just yet. He's just observing, and now he's looking at us. Looking straight towards you. What have you seen? I'm so sorry, Chantal. I cannot seem to hear your questions today. Let me play with the volume buttons very quickly. Can we try again? I'm just going to adjust all the levels here. I'll turn them down a bit. Maybe that helps. I'm getting... No, I can't. I'm so sorry. Did you hear that question? I heard Tina, and then I can't make out what the rest of it is. Sebastian's unfortunately also having the same issue that I'm having this morning with comms. It started out great, but now they seem to be deteriorating, which is not great. So I'm so sorry, Tina. I can't hear your question, but if I do hear it a little bit later, we can always come back to it. But what I want to do is I want to move off from this giraffe. He's feeding into the thicket, because Rex and I are still trying to find this leopard, and we've put it off for quite a while now, and that makes me a little bit concerned, because that leopard could now be anywhere. We didn't quite know where he was going, so I think we're going to go back towards the last tracks, and I think I'm going to jump off the car and go in on foot. Right, let's carry on. Let's go back towards those those last tracks, and then you can also have a look at them. Bye bye, giraffe. Thank you. I'm sure we'll see you later, hopefully with some moms and little babies. That'd be nice to see baby giraffe at some point today as well. Are we ready to take gloves off yet, Sebastian, or is it still a little bit too cold? Did you have to take yours off? Yeah. Sebastian says he can't operate the camera if he has gloves on. Okay, gloves are off. I'll take mine off as well. So it's nice. It's actually not cold now at all. It's good. Let's go and have a look. Okay, we'll go quickly though to these last set of tracks. Now, if it is Tingana that was walking around here, it could also be Hosana's tracks. They were fairly large tracks, but I mean they didn't look ginormous. But that could just be from the substrate too. Is that there's a very nice drainage system, and that would provide a perfect spot to rest up for just during the day. They might just be in there, and that's maybe why the birds were sort of chirping, and then stopped. Maybe they thought, he's not going anywhere, we better just save our breath. We've been calling for a long time now. There's no point in continuing it. Okay, but we're just about to come up to it now, and I'm also going to just triple check again the road to see that he didn't come walking out here and over the tops of our tracks. Okay. No, we've got to go this way. Let's go here. This side. Okay, so the first time that I spotted the tracks are actually just up over here. Right. Let's quickly see if we can find one of these leopard tracks, just so I can show all of you what they look like. There should be some just around the corner, not far from here. No, that wasn't the spot. This is the hard spot here. This is not the greatest substrate to see footprints on, but it does get a little bit better. I think they were just here. I didn't circle them. I just sort of drove off the side of the road slightly to not spoil them. Unless someone else has come driving here as well, but I would really like to show you these footprints, please. Please let there be footprints. Okay. So it seems that I think Rexon may have come through here as well, which is great because he's got James on his car and he'll be able to track the leopard better than I could. However, Ellie has found herself not a leopard, but she's got some of the raptors of the sky.
Yes, hopefully we'll be able to find this leopard at some point today, but in the meantime we have managed to find some vultures that are busy warming up. So normally when we see lots of vultures together, we tend to get excited because there's a potential that there's a kill somewhere around the area, and you know, maybe lions are eating something, or leopards or cheetah. In this particular case, however, I think you know, there's no such thing. We've roughly checked around the area, and I know Rex was just in the drainage line not too far from where they are, and it seems to be, the coast seems to be clear, so these guys very likely are just soaking up the sunshine, trying to warm up a little bit before the morning starts going around. It seems that the ones that we've got here are white-backed vultures. From what I can see, the shapes of all of their heads are pretty much around the same, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there's one at the bottom. So you see, vultures are quite big birds. Their wingspan is about 2 meters long. So it's, I don't know, it's a wingspan that is actually taller than me. So for them to start flying around, it's quite hard. It's, you know, it takes a lot of effort. So the best way for them to start flying around is actually to wait for the thermals, which are the hot currents of air. And that's why when you see them flying up, they always go in circles, because they're just pretty much riding the wave like a surfer. So they start going all the way up, and then they start looking for food. So as they start going up, they can also, the higher up they go, well, not only can they cover a bit more ground and see what's on the ground, but they can see other vultures flying around. So if there were a vulture to come down and they can see it, very quickly they would come and investigate and see what's happening, and then, you know, go down. But because it's winter, then these thermals are taking slightly longer to start forming. So I think maybe around about 9 o'clock this morning, when it's nice and warm, nice and hot, that's when we're going to see them start riding the wave and start going all the way up. I just want to double check with the binos because I see a head. Elizabeth, vultures just scavenge, and they have a very important role in the ecosystem because they are the ones that clean up pretty much the mess that everybody leaves behind. So they've got very powerful stomachs and very powerful acids in their stomach that allows them to pretty much wipe out diseases should a particular carcass have a disease. So I know they don't really have a very good connotation, and we all tend to be like, ew, well, you know, they're just coming and eating the raw meat and trying to get it from the lions, and they're stealing it. But actually, they're one of the more important creatures that we have around here, just because if an animal dies of a disease, they are one of the few, along sometimes perhaps with hyenas, that have also got very powerful stomach acids to digest everything that can wipe out those diseases from the environment. So it's very important for everyone to have them around here. I think I wanted to double check if perhaps one of them, it seemed like we had a bit of a different species of vulture there, but I think it's pretty safe to say they are all against the trees, against the light, sorry, but it's all pretty much the backed white vulture. I think they're Beer Watcher, you'd like to know if they pee on their legs to keep themselves from dehydrating or from getting sunburned. It's not particularly obvious in vultures, although some of the animals do it. But it's more common if we were to come across a marabou stork. Oh, we found a marabou stork right in front of us, in the shape of a very pretty human. Hello.
Hi, Ellie. I'm just going to listen to your story. Story time with Ellie.
Good. No story time here. These vultures were here yesterday, and we checked yesterday, and there was nothing.
It's interesting that there's still...
Because yesterday over there were a pair of hoodeds, and then all of these ones around here. So we were actually going to wait for a better signal, and then, but if you want to go, maybe scratch around down there, see if there's anything around there. Because Rex just came down the drainage line. So
that's interesting. Maybe I'll go have a look. I think I'm going to go along Leadwood then maybe, and then I'll come back around here and just do a couple of loops. I saw him off the vehicle now where he had the leopard track, and he said no luck.
Okay. I think, the cats are giving us an interesting morning again.
I've worked hard.
Okay, bye-bye. Alright, yes, so as I was saying, some of the animals do it just to keep warm. If you imagine when the vultures, when they fly all the way high up in the sky, let me just show you, the photo is a bit easier. So what they tend to do, the vultures don't particularly pee on their legs. You see the feathers cover pretty much all the way to their talons, so that keeps them warm. But when they fly, you see here on the flight photo, they duck and they put their heads inside of there just to prevent all of the heat from coming out of here. So with the marabou storks, let me just find the storks here on the book just to show you. They do that, and that's why their legs look white all the time, because it's a way of them to not only protecting their very, very white legs from the sun, but it's also a way of just making sure they don't dehydrate as quickly. There we go. Storks, there we go. Marabou stork. So this is a bird that is very well known to do this often, and you will see the legs start getting whiter and whiter and whiter, and it's just a way of preventing themselves from pretty much burning in the sun. As you can imagine, over here during the summertime, the temperature can go up to maybe 45-50 degrees Celsius, which is very, very, very hot. I think that's probably around the hundreds or the 90s in Fahrenheit. So every animal's got a very interesting adaptation in the ways how they survive and carry on with their daily routine, because you can think that vultures have to fly around and start looking for things, but when they come and they find a kill, or even the marabou storks that come and sometimes share the kill sites and scavenge with the vultures, they've got to have all sorts of things so that they can stay in an area and get some food and where it can be safe for them. But I think our guys over here just warming up. I mean, their necks aren't even straight up. I think they're just a bit tucked in like we do with the scarves. Just applying their own down feathers to keep warm. I think though, I'm feeling fairly confident. I've taken the gloves off. I think everything else should be getting a bit warmer. We're gonna go around the other side of the drainage line, see if maybe we get a bit luckier with this leopard mission that we're on. But in the meantime, let's see if Taylor has had any better luck at finding more tracks.
No luck whatsoever, so I've decided that it is riddle time. It seems the animals are hiding away from us. So you ready for our daily riddle? This is going to get you. I'm convinced today that I'm going to stump the lot of you. Now, not many rules to this game. You're just not allowed to search the interweb. You cannot put things I'm about to say in your search engine and then get the answer, otherwise it's not fair and it's cheating. And the only cheaters I want to see out here are the ones with spots. So the riddle today is what? No, I've forgotten it. What is it again? What is a 7-letter word that contains thousands of letters? Hashtag Safari Live. With what you think the answer to that could be. What is a 7-letter word but contains thousands of letters? Let's see if you can get this one. That's the one. Actually, and I have a present for all of you. We'll do 2 times quizzes very quickly, but we'll give you some time to, of course, look at them. And then, what is this beautiful thing that I'm now dangling off of my finger? Isn't this cool? It's something. Also, again, you can hashtag Safari Live with your guesses as to what you think this magical object could be. I'll give you a clue. It's quite hard. Do you want to hear what it sounds like when I bang it on my head? It's very solid too. Right, but we'll carry on driving while you guess the answer to my quiz, and also what that thing was that I was holding in my hand. Right. We're going to keep on looking around here, checking these drainage systems, trying to figure out what those vultures are well, waiting around for. Brent, however, has got the stripiest animal in the bush.
Well, there we go. A lovely striped donkey. High up on the escarpment in the short grasses. There's quite a few of them. They've moved down from the top of the escarpment. Oh, where are my binoculars? I have spotted something else. What have I spotted in the distance? I'm not sure yet. Oh, it's more zebra. They're just very far away. And
the same thing.
Jamie said she saw the same thing. Also grabbed binoculars. But now, as you can see, it's beautiful up here. It's quite a bit cooler than where we were earlier, as we're quite high up on the escarpment. And the zebras are slowly, surely, as we move into our dry season, getting further and further down. And I'm going to ask Dave to pan off the zebras to the sea of grass that is to the south of us. Now, when I arrived, most of that grass had a greenish tinge to it, and I mean, you can even see it's got quite yellow. But what I find absolutely gorgeous is you can see the red of the Thermida. You see it there, Dave? You can see that Thermida grassland, that lovely red top that they get their name from. So in southern Africa, we call it Natal red top or Natal red grass. In East Africa, they call it red oats grass. But it is a Thermida triandra, one of the best grazing grasses around. And the wildebeest are coming for it. And they are probably about 30 kilometers south of the Kenyan border at the moment, so they should be arriving in the next couple of weeks. And isn't that just so exciting? And it is just an amazing view from up here. I mean, we can see 30, 40 kilometers from up here. Even more, actually, 50, 60, 100 kilometers. It is stunning. Now, some topi steeping in the grass down there. They're still warming up. Hello, topi. They are such funny looking animals. Heidi is wondering where's north, south, east and west. So Heidi, I will wait for Dave to zoom towards us, or towards me. Hi Heidi. So Heidi is wondering where's north, south, east and west. So Heidi, that is south, where we were looking at that beautiful red grass. And pretty much over final control, or a little bit to the right of final control, is west. A little bit to the right of final control is west. Then of course east is then directly behind us. I didn't know you could go swing that far, Davy. Well, you can if you have to. So there's west directly behind us. And of course that leaves only north, which is over there. There we go, Heidi. Oh, north, south, east, west. Now, before we look at that, look at those triple skirchies. The triple skirches underneath the balanites. Isn't that? That's beautiful. Oh, it's gorgeous. The vistas here are just to die for. And every single time I come out, I just get blown away by it. Now, unfortunately, we're going to have to say goodbye to you, but of course Taylor and Ellie will continue on the drive. We have to get to a little, not a little, we have to, Steph, myself and Jamie have to go to a meeting, and to give you an idea how far that meeting is, let's go across over there, Dave. Okay, you see where Serena Hill is? to the right. Yep, okay, so go beyond it. So a little bit to the left. A little bit to the left. So you see those barely pale hills in the distance. That's where our meeting is. So we've got a long way to go. I'm going to go pick up Steph, and then we're going to head across towards Kikarok for our meeting. So it's a short but sweet sunrise safari from the Mara. It's been great having you with us, and of course, hopefully, if our meeting ends early enough, we'll see you on the sunset safari. Who knows, maybe we'll even force Steph to say hello, because he might be stuck in the car with us. That could be fun. I'll go Uncle Steph, very busy man trying to get camp finished and everything done at the moment. But as I say, yeah, so we're going to head back up the hill, go fetch Steph, grab some more water, and then set off on it's probably about a 220 kilometer round trip to where we're going, and we've got to be there at 12. Now, speaking of driving, and someone who's not going to drive as far as us, let's go back to Taylor in South Africa.
I most certainly have not driven as far as you, and I wonder how Jamie's feeling after her long journey, her, Alan, and as well as Kirsten's trip. I hope it went all smoothly and you didn't have too many hiccups along the way. Right, do we have some answers for my quizzes? Firstly, should we go, let's go with, let's do the riddle first. Let's see if any of you got that one. What is a 7-letter word that contains thousands of letters? Let's see if there are any answers to that. Ah, no ways. First guess. Starlight, you said mailbox. Oh, I'm not going to ever win this game, am I? I think that's not fair. Really well done. I thought I was going to trick you today. I even went through a whole lot of them with Sebastian and said, which one do you think is going to stump the viewers? And we both agreed that one sounded pretty tricky. So well done, Starlight. Very good guessing from all of you, and I hope that you're all enjoying our our chats. Hang on, what tree do you hear? Oh, sorry, I thought for a moment I'd just found myself a new tree, but it is not a new tree. It's just a knob thorn that looked like it had been pruned by the elephants. And then, do we have an answer for this one? What this little goodie is over here? This one's an easy one. I think you will all guess this. Now, Patricia, you said a wool fruit. No, not quite a wool fruit. Mall fruit. A mall fruit? No, not a mall fruit, but a good guess. No, it isn't. You can see it's actually got some damage on it. I promise I didn't do that over there. That was an animal that did that. Any other guesses? Corrine and Quibus say baobab fruit. That is indeed correct. Well done to the two of you. You got that right. This is a very young baobab fruit. You can see it's quite small. Now this is where the fun starts. I'm going to try and break it. It means that I'm going to have to get out of the car now. And Sebastian, I'm not going to be able to break it anywhere near the car. So where should we go? I had to even bring my own rock. I brought my own, I didn't, I just picked it up off of the road because I thought that we might not be able to find it. So I'm going to have to walk out a little bit. Sebastian, I'm going to go quite far down the road. Is this fine here?
Yeah.
Because what I want to do, well, I have to put my cable away, is I'm hitting this against the rock quite hard and it's not really breaking.
Come a bit closer, Taylor, please. Yeah, your sound's breaking up.
Is that better? But now can you see the floor?
Yeah.
Okay. Now the idea is what I'm going to do is I'm going to be able to get my aim correctly. I'm going to throw this rock down onto the fruit.
I think you're still breaking up. You still got.
Oh my goodness, what is going on? Now you're not going to be able to see me. Can you see me?
No, I can see. Yeah.
Okay. Right, you ready? I need to try and do this as hard as I can so I can break it because it's exceptionally tough. Nope. That one didn't work. If I can't open it now, I'll have to bring a hammer out on the sunset safari. Yay! Success! That was a lot easier than I thought. Now I need to pick it all up because We don't get baobabs in this area, and it would be nice if we could grow a few, but I'm not going to be responsible for that. Right, that's okay. Thank you, Rock. You have done your duty. Now I'm going to bring it a little bit closer. I'm going to put it all over the dashboard. Dust my hands off, and I'm also going to plug my earpiece back in case we get some more questions. But there it is, all smashed up. That rock was absolutely perfect. Now, like I said, we don't get the baobabs growing in this area, unfortunately. You can see them a little bit further in Kruger, but sort of further north you go, you start to see them quite a bit. But this is one of the most prominent tree species that you see in northern Limpopo, is the beautiful big baobabs. And the fruit is delicious. Well, I don't think so. I was just joking when I said that. So you can open it up like this, and all of this stuff, those white bits, are the parts that you can eat. But now it's filled with seeds. You can't see the seeds too well. Here's a little seed. I'll put it just over there. Nope, lost it now. Let me get it for you again. Here's the seed. Stay put. You can just see a little part of it. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the baobab fruit. It tastes to me, and I'm going to find a nice piece and just take this bit over here. I'm going to put it in my mouth now. Sebastian, do you like some? Here we go. Do you want to eat it?
Thank you.
So remember, there is a little seed inside there. So basically, you eat the seed. You don't swallow the seed. You just chew the white stuff that is around it, and it sort of goes soft. So you put it in your mouth and you sort of suck it. Mmm. Mmm. And on Jojo, as I'll try and chew this and talk with my mouth full, you said that monkeys would break their teeth in trying to open something like that. They would indeed, but I think monkeys are intelligent enough to use tools, and I know it's been exhibited with apes actually using rocks and things to smash open things, so I wouldn't be surprised if a vervet monkey did that. So once you've sort of eaten the seed and you chew away all this white stuff, which is quite hard, but it goes soft in your mouth, and the texture, hang on, do you want a cloth? Do you want a glove? We're just looking, we can see there's a little bit of dust on the lens, so we just want to clean that very quickly, and that's what happens. So you're going to see a cloth coming across your screen just for 2 seconds, and then we'll carry on. But obviously, with there not being much rain at the moment, there is a lot of dust that's being kicked up all the time. There we go. Ha! Now I'm clean. And so basically the texture of that white stuff, once you put it in your mouth and it starts to go soft, it's like old popcorn. It's like popcorn that's been left out in the movie theater for about 2 weeks, and you're taking a piece and putting it into your mouth. So it's quite chewy. And the taste is a little bit citrusy and powdery in the same go. So it's not delicious like a marula fruit. I'd rather eat 24 marula fruits than eat a baobab. However, the vitamin C content in this guy over here is absolutely phenomenal. So really, really good to eat, but you've got to be very careful. You don't want to eat too much of it, just like the marula fruits, because if you eat too much of it, you're going to find yourself with a very upset stomach. So try and avoid that. I'm actually going to have another piece. Sebastian, did you eat yours?
Not yet.
Not yet? Don't you really enjoy it?
I'm really busy, you know.
Now, I'm not going to throw the seeds out of the car. We'll just have to leave them, and we'll take care of them a little bit later. But like I said, I don't want to be responsible for making them grow. Let's see if I can open this one up. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. No, it's actually proving to be quite difficult. Should I bite it? No, I can't afford to lose my front teeth. That would be very awkward if I came on a safari and I didn't have my 2 front teeth. But we won't eat any more of it, and I wish I could send you all little bits of this so you could taste it. So many different animals will try and eat it. I haven't ever seen an elephant successfully opening up a baobab fruit and feasting upon it, so it's not going to be one of them that eat it, but it's delicious. But they get much bigger than this. They can get 3 or 4 times the size. I actually have another much larger one in my room, which I shall save. And then I've got something else that's also made from the baobab. I'm going to put my wrist on the table. If you look at what is around my wrist at the moment, you see that bracelet? It's a little bit sort of all torn now, but that is the bark of the baobab. Now, it's almost impossible to try and pull the bark off of a baobab tree. It's very, very smooth, but when the elephants feast upon it, and that they love to do, they tear it up, almost like how they score the trees, the marula trees. They'll do that, and then it's quite fibrous, very fibrous in fact, and then it's easy to pull. So I pulled this from an old scar and I made it, and they will weave baskets, they will weave all sorts of things and make rope. It is incredibly strong, very much like what we do with the silver cluster leaves. It's also quite nice. Isn't it delicious? There's the baobab fruit for you. I told you I was bringing you presents and gifts, and I'm going to keep doing that every time. Where am I going to put this now? Every time I go somewhere different, I'll try and bring something back to show all of you. I don't know actually. I don't have a packet. Now you've got to watch me try and clean up the mess I've made. This is the story of my life. Packet! Oh, it's amazing what you can find in these cars. This is actually something that we try and use to cover the screens with. But luckily, we're not expecting rain. Oh, and I've just broken it. Wonderful. And we'll just put this all in here. And I'll take it back and see if anybody wants to taste it. Because I'm sure with all our new team, there's a couple of ladies and gents who haven't had the opportunity. That is an exceptional word that I've just created. Opportunity. I meant to say opportunity. Had the opportunity to, of course, to taste the various fruits of Africa. But I've come undone again. So let me plug myself back in. Right, plugged in. Let's go and drive around and see what else we can find. I'm going to suck on my fruit now. Now, Sarah, you're wondering if the baobab fruit is used in cooking. Not any recipes that I've seen. Now, I do have a piece in my mouth, so I apologize. It sounds not great as I suck on the seed. So no, but locals, you can't. I don't even think you can melt it down to a sort of finer substance. Are you eating yours now, Sebastian? It's very hard, and it softens with moisture. So again, the locals in this area don't get baobabs out here in the Sabi sand. So I don't know if the local Shangani people will use it for anything. Next time I go to northern Limpopo, if I go back up that way again, I shall try and find some locals and see if they use it for traditional dishes. But again, it's great to eat a little bit of it every day. It'd be a good way to try and prevent colds and flus, and has got a whole lot of medicinal uses as well. I saw the other day, I was just thinking, there's a long list, and it's now a trend. I know a lot of homeopathic shops actually sell powdered versions of the baobab fruit, so that they go through the entire process of grinding it down for us. Luckily we don't have to do that. And I think you can use it for blood pressure, if I'm not mistaken, as well. There's a whole long list of things now, but of course they've all slipped my mind. I'll have to go back to them. And then I think I'm also going to try and bring a bigger section of the bark back too, so we can have a look at it, so I can actually show you how it grows and how fibrous it is, because it doesn't have your traditional sort of hard outer bark layer on it like we see on the marula trees or the silver cluster leaf. It is beautiful and smooth. And that's actually a dream of mine, is to see a leopard in a baobab. I thought I was going to get the opportunity to see something like that in Zambia. There were lots of baobab trees in Zambia too, but unfortunately I didn't quite get the chance. As I had to start learning the real names for it, and then learned that it was called a baobab. And up here you've actually said that you also call it the upside down tree. I think it's a great name. Oh, let me have a look here. I want to just see how fresh this is. There's some elephant dung just in the road in front of me, but it doesn't look particularly old. I think it could be from last night though. Now I can try and find a track to also figure out which way it is going. Oh, the ground is hard. So yeah, it's quite solid already, and you can just see how it's starting to change color now. Look how it's going darker over here. Normally when the dung comes out, it's that sort of bright green, yellow tinging color. So I think this is from late last night. It's had some time to cool. It's now starting to change color as the sun hits it too. And I think I can see a track here next to the car. No, that's from his trunk. I actually can't see any tracks at all. The middle part of this road is very, very hard. We'll have to see if we can figure out where that boy has gone. Right, but 3 little dung balls all piled in a row. I think we need to go the other way. I think I came down the wrong road. Alright. We're going to try and turn around, and I'm hopefully going to find this elephant who has deposited its dung in the middle of the road. Ellie is back at the hyena den. Maybe those little cubs have come out to sun themselves.
Unfortunately, one cub was out, but it's gone back in, so it's we didn't actually manage to see it. The other guys before us said that he just came out and he looked very healthy and happy, and then all of a sudden he went back in about a few minutes before we arrived. So unfortunately, fortunately we know there is one cub in there, but I think he's still busy sleeping, or maybe, you know, the coming out was too exciting and he got very tired, and he's back inside, and we can see the mother is still pretty much in the same position that we left her in this morning, not moving around too much. But funny enough, now that Taylor was talking about the baobab trees, which are by far one of my favorite trees around here, there is an interesting African story, and is not obviously, let's put it this way, it's got a bit of an interesting idea of how certain local communities think about hyenas. It doesn't necessarily reflect the way we think about them, but certainly you can understand why there's been lots of human and hyena conflict in some areas. People don't regard hyenas as very nice animals to have around. So one of the story goes, and I think it's some of the people in Malawi that think about it, that when God had created all the animals, and then he was finishing with everything else in the world, all of the animals came around and they said they wanted to help. So God wasn't really happy about the fact that he wanted, to let them plant the trees and everything else, but the animals were very, very keen, so he said, fine, you guys can help me create the trees and then plant them. So apparently he gave different animals different species of trees and so on, and when he got to the hyena, he gave the hyena the seed of the baobab tree, but unfortunately the hyena got it wrong and then planted the tree upside down, and that's why the roots of the tree are up in the sky, whereas the rest of the leaves and everything else appear to be underneath the ground. So a lot of people use this story just to show how hyenas are not very clever animals, but we all know that's not really quite the case. It's just one of those old stories that go around in some of the cultural villages. But I always find it funny, because I would just imagine a hyena running around with a fully grown baobab tree and then just planting it the other way around. I think actually they would do it more as in a case just to confuse everyone and be like, oh really, you think I can't do this? Let me show you. So yes, we don't get too many baobab trees around here, but it would be very nice to see them. Maybe one day we'll also see a hyena dragging a branch of one of them around here, just to prove everyone that the story is actually wrong and they know exactly what they're doing. I think in this case though, they are not too bothered with life. They tend to prefer in abandoned termite mounds, because when you can imagine, if the termite mound is active and there are millions and millions and millions of little termites moving up and down, and then just moving little things, and they come at night and they can be very loud and they make noises when they chew on the grass or they bring it inside. So most animals tend to prefer inhabiting termite mounds that have been abandoned. There is quite a high number of them that are inactive, so that's normally the ones that they go for. Sometimes what you'll see though is a bit of a mix. You'll have part of the mound that is inactive, perhaps because the termite mound and the colony is just starting to die off, so they'll inhabit the parts that don't really have too many termites in it. I think I've seen maybe one spot where a hyena den was, and when I used to work further south in the Savisana, just one spot where it seemed like half of the mound was active in the area where the hyenas were denning. It didn't seem to have anything else in it. But again, there are quite a few animals that prefer them active, but just because they want to go and eat what's inside. A lot of ants, they raid termite mounds. Aardvarks, which is a very funny looking creature, very, very pretty, almost like a pig. That they eat a lot of them. And then, well, obviously the pangolins, which are proving to be my Sabi-san's nemesis, as I haven't been able to see them here, which is a scaly ant eater, a little animal that rolls up into a bowl for safety, very similar to a giant artichoke almost. And they've got a very, very long tongue that they use to eat ants and termites, and the front claws that they very sharp that they use to dig up the termite mounds. So that also helps with the process. I mean, if you can imagine all of these animals coming and eating them and just digging up the termites in the termite mound, that also helps with the process of kind of wearing the colony down, so that then the particular mound will become inactive, and then other animals like the hyenas we're looking at can come and inhabit it. I think the more they use it, the more they stretch the chambers and the channels in there. Shansen, there are a few reasons that would cause a colony to abandon their mound, but a lot of the times what will happen is that they just slow die off. So, for example, if there wasn't a lot of food around, obviously the termites wouldn't be able to produce the fungus or to produce the food that they grow on top of certain fungus that they pretty much cultivate at the bottom of the termite mound. Because this termite mound that we're looking at is normally made by fungus growing termites. So they'll come out during the night, they'll chew on some vegetation, and they'll go down, 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 down into the lower chambers where it's very humid and very hot, and then they will regurgitate the grass and the plant material that they've been eating, and on top of this regurgitation and on top of this food that they've pretty much thrown up, there's a little fungus that's going to start growing, and that's what they eat. The problem with the termite mounds is in general, besides that they've got to make sure that they've got enough food around them. So if there's a very big fire, a drought, and they can't find food, then that's obviously works against them. Sometimes what happens as well is a termite mound only has a certain lifespan. So you'll have a queen, an original queen that would have started the mound, but after that particular queen, you can only have 2 more successions of other queens. So the queen will lay a lot of eggs, and then once the little larvae is hatched, the workers will feed them a specific diet. So if they want to, for example, create soldiers, they will give them a certain diet with certain plant material and everything else. If they want to create more workers, they'll feed them another particular diet. And when they want to create the alates, the future kings and queens of other that are going to come out of the mound and then just go and spread their wings and go create other mounds, they feed them a different diet altogether. The problem is that when the queen dies off, then they can only almost like modify the diet of one particular queen or potential would-be queen for her to get all the organs and all the parts that she's going to need to start laying all the eggs to carry on sustaining all the life that goes around in the termite mound. And then after the second one dies, very rarely is this third one able to produce as many eggs or produce eggs that are going to be able to sustain the mound itself. So the mound is a very, very slow process that it starts dying off. Sometimes it'll happen as well. Like I think they published recent studies. I can't remember if it was in Kenya or Namibia, because it was very beautiful termite mounds of a very reddish soil color. That they've done some carbon testing on them, and I think they've been going on for around 2,000 years. But what they believed happened with those particular mounds was that as soon as it sort of started dying off, then another queen or another colony of termites went and lived in that particular one, and then it carried on expanding, and these things are, I think, maybe 2 meters tall, very, very big and precious termite mounds. I think that's what they reckon it happened. I might be slightly confused and we'll have to double check my facts, but I do remember that they believe that they are about 1,500 years old. That is, termites have seen pretty much all of the world go by, all of our modern civilization, and they can tell the story. I'm like, oh, this is how it was back then. This is what you guys are doing right now. they'll be here long after we leave this hyena, and well, long after I'm gone too. We're gonna leave this pretty hyena to sleep. I think she's pretty much done for the day. We'll stick around for a few more minutes, see if perhaps the cubs come out. But if they don't in the meantime, then let's just go over to Taylor and see how her animal search is going.
So all that dung that we saw earlier from that elephant, I've been tracking. It turned from one elephant into an entire herd of elephants. We had their tracks, and there's actually some of their tracks on the road just in front of us, but they're coming down towards us, and then there's a whole lot of them that are crossing and going into Torchwood. So unfortunately, I think we've just missed these Ellies. And I also did pick up in some male lion tracks. Now, this morning we heard a male lion, and if any of you were watching the dam cam, you probably would have heard him too, shouting about. But he was quite far away. He was never very close to where we were. I think this is him. It was at Quarry Pan. And I know that the Birminghams are sneaky. Then their tracks disappear, and they normally go straight through the block, and there's a spot where they cross out up here. So I just want to confirm that he has crossed out of our traverse and perhaps either gone into Torchwood or possibly into Buffels Hook. If he hasn't, then we'll come back down and we'll weave along here Hippo Pools Road, and we'll go and check again around what's that dam called now? Buffels Hook Dam. Forgot its name for just a moment. So let's try and do that. Just have to start with the whole elimination process again, I suppose. Out the way, doves, please. Off they go. Yes, here they are. I just saw them now. I hope I didn't drive over them. I think there was someone else that's actually driven here already. No, where is that line track that I just saw? Did I just squash it? I think I also just drove over it. Okay, let's see if we can find some more up here. Now they're all gone. Yeah, there have been a couple of cars that have already driven up here this morning. So a lot of the tracks, even some of the elephant tracks, have already been driven over. So I know that they can't be too fresh then from a little bit earlier today. Let's just see here. No, now I can't see anything. Okay. Let's very quickly just check the corner up ahead, and then maybe we'll have some better luck that side. No, there's the elephant tracks. There might have been a couple of different herds that moved through here. Right, no, I don't know where all the footprints I had have disappeared to now. We'll just check on the corner of Buffels or Cut Line and see this side. Now, Natalie, you're wondering if I could be a bird for a day, which bird would I be? That's a tough one. I'd like to be a secretary bird because you can fly and you can soar, and then you've got really, really, really sharp talons on your feet and you kill snakes. I think that would be quite impressive. I'd love to face a Cape Cobra, or maybe out here, maybe a Mozambique spitting cobra if I was a bird. But yes, I think a secretary bird would be a nice one to be, because there's not many things that would go after a secretary bird, so I think you'd be relatively safe. And you're also intimidating because you're quite tall. You're not a tiny little babbler or something along those lines. It might be too stressful to be one of the smaller birds, so I think I'd go with something along the of a secretary bird, maybe even a southern ground hornbill. That could be a good one. And I'd be the best southern ground hornbill too, because I'd sit in all the trees at sunset and sunrise, nice open branches, and I would call away so that everybody could have the most amazing sighting. Or I'd just be catching chameleons all the time and eating them. Okay, so no luck here on the corner. Now let's go to Buffels Hook Dam. I'm sure we'll find our friends the hippos. They like it quite a bit. Now I can see the road that I need to turn down. It's just there, but there are gremlins around here. We're gonna creep. Ooh, okay, that's exciting. I don't know if Ellie actually has a dung beetle, but there's definitely something that she'd like to tell you about them.
dung beetle. No, we haven't seen a dung beetle, Taylor. I'm sorry. We would really like to see one. We did see a very, very massive one the other day when we were with the Nkuhuma Pride. And, you know, the FC girls were saying that it wasn't that big, but I'm convinced it's the biggest one I've ever seen. So I don't know if they've just seen very well-fed ones. We were just discussing if we were birds, what would we like to be? I think Craig's choice was to be a golden eagle, something big, so that nobody would mess with him, and I'd be happy to be an oxpecker, just because I could ride on everybody's back and then just take it easy and, you know, have a lot of dust bath. Would be nice. We unfortunately had to, like I said, leave the hyena. I think she's a bit tired and done for the day, so I also don't want to bother her too much, and maybe we'll try our luck this afternoon and the little one will be out and about and, you know, chewing everything and biting branches and just being naughty the way tiny hyena cubs can be. In the meantime, we've decided that now we want to try and cover an area where we haven't been this morning, see if maybe if we swap our luck entirely, if we'll see more things. Well, we're looking at Impala now, which is more than we have seen this morning. Hello, girls. Sorry, I don't want to drive too fast and then give them all a fright, but they're all around here. I think these are the same ones that we saw this morning, because we're not too far from quarantine and it's quite a big herd. So all around here. Hello, young boy. Girls, how you doing? But also on the grass, and that gives them a bit of an extra advantage regarding to other animals that have become a bit too over specialized when it comes to feeding, and they'll feed only on the one thing rather than on all of the other things. So they'll always be able to find, or they'll have more food options available to them than some of the other animals. I'll go forward. See if maybe we'll have a look at the male. See, quite a few young boys around in this herd. So they're still lucky because they're still not considered a threat or any potential threat to any of the or to the dominant male around here. But next year, as soon as the rutting season starts again, then these guys are definitely going to be kicked out of this herd, and then they're going to have to start fighting for the right to mate with all of the females and just pretty much earn their spot in the hierarchy. So I think, you know, these are like the over age ones. They would be maybe about 17, and then next year it would be their 18th birthday, and then they would have to pretty much go into the world and make it on their own. Let's see, we're not too far from Vultures Dam, and I just want to see if maybe there's anything that's come down for a drink. I'm hoping for something very big like an elephant. We're gonna carry on moving towards the dam. We're not too far from it, and we'll let you guys know for sure if we find anything. But in the meantime, let's go over to Taylor and see if maybe she's got the dung beetle.
Not yet. I actually haven't seen dung beetles for quite some time, to be honest. I don't know if we're going to be seeing them unless we have an exceptionally hot day and they pop out from their hidey holes. But we are just looping around. There are many safari vehicles at Vultures Dam. They're having their tea and coffee there, so we won't go and disturb them. We'll let them enjoy their peace. So we're on Hippo Pools Road now. We're just going to quickly check here to see if we can figure out where those lion tracks went. Oh, and there's also a brown snake eagle. Let's see if it's going to sit down in the tree, please. And maybe we can I haven't seen a brown snake eagle in quite some time, so it'd be nice to have a look at this guy. Where did you go? Just flew. Oh, there it is. Can you get that gap there, or is it too? There we go. Just trying to find a very small gap. It's actually very, very far away from it now, and there's a drongo that is sitting on its head, just about. Look at that. So there's a brown snake eagle. Very easy to tell that it's a brown snake eagle from this distance. It's because of its rather large head. They always look like they have an oversized head, don't they? And then it's also got quite a bit of white on it under its feathers. But look at this drongo. It is not happy with this raptor. Now, what's happening at the moment is it's a behavior which we call mobbing. Now, we often see smaller birds mobbing raptors. There we go. Look at those bright yellow eyes as well that they've got. They are such beautiful birds. And basically what happens, it's not just limited to the fork-tailed drongo, but lapwings do it, starlings do it, babblers will do it too. Is they sometimes will make quite a bit of noise, but in the drongo's case, I don't think he's making too much noise just yet. But does very acrobatic swirls and will bop the predator on the head. Sort of just how flies hover around you and annoy you, and you sort of swat, and eventually you just get up and you move away and you try and find a different spot where there are less annoying flies. The birds are doing the same thing. So it's not that they necessarily are going to hurt that big raptor. They just want to annoy it enough to move it away. And I'm sure that it's feeling very frustrated by the drongo's activities. But it's also very dangerous for that little drongo, because it could end up becoming a meal, not necessarily for this brown snake eagle, but for other raptors that it will mob to. It could put itself into a bit of danger. It's also expending a lot of energy by mobbing. So remember, as we get to the winter months, the insects start to get fewer, and it makes it a little bit more difficult for the birds that are feeding on insects to find food. And one thing you don't want to be doing is wasting unnecessary energy. For instance, look at it sitting on its head. Was it on the branch just behind it? That was so funny. I don't know if there's a little branch there that makes it look like it's sitting on top of the eagle's head, but from this angle, it's quite great. So that drongo needs to be careful, but he won't spend his whole day bothering that snake eagle. I can promise you right now, eventually it will get annoyed and it will fly off. What are you doing? No, it is sitting on its head too, isn't it? That is amazing. I've never seen that before. I mean, you always see them getting quite close, but not quite resting on his head. Maybe he's trying to be a woodpecker and then pecking at the top of its head, trying to annoy it even further. I think that this must be a very experienced snake eagle. It doesn't seem to be too flustered by the activities of the fork-tailed drongo. That is so cool. Now, if you did manage to capture a screenshot there of that sort of little circus act, please hashtag Safari Live and send it to us, because I'd love to see these pictures a little bit later. That's the first time I've ever seen a smaller bird physically landing on top of a big raptor. Like I say, they come close, but they normally don't risk it and get that close. But fork-tailed drongos are some of the cheekiest birds in the bush. Wasn't that nice, eh, Sebastian? Have you seen that before?
Oh,
Never. I thought I couldn't. My eyes must be seeing strange things through my eyes. Right, I'm going to send you back across to Ellie, and she's got her binoculars out. I wonder what she's spotted.
Well, we thought we had spotted a crocodile, but it is actually a terrapin. So doesn't it look very much like a crocodile? It's almost like the head would be the nose, and then the shell, it's, the top of the head of the crocodile. But no, we've just got what looks to be a marsh terrapin. I would say so, just in the water. We tell them. Lots of little things happening around here. Everyone's almost going on about their day. We've got a few birds on the side, then we've got the terrapins around there. We've got a headed ibis that's feeding there. The pair is also around there, but you see, very, very sensitive beak. So what it's doing, it's just putting it inside, just trying to feel for little fish or little food that's moving around, and then once it feels it, then that's when it closes its mouth and then manages to catch everything else. Maybe there's something in there. Looks quite juicy. They are very pretty birds. Unfortunately, they are so loud and so constant in making calls that I think that's why sometimes we get a bit tired of them. The same story with the Egyptian geese that, felt that maybe they had to announce their presence to us. Just on the other side. And it's incredible how everything is starting to dry up now very quickly. There go the Egyptian geese. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there was talk at some point of renaming them as the African tree duck, because they're they're actually related to both, but they're one of the few ducks that actually perches on trees. And often, if you come to a water hole, then you'll see them perching on top of a tree. And if you look at the rest of the ducks and other animals, they tend to pretty much spend their time inside of the water. And if they're not inside of the water, they're not too far off, but never on top of a tree. But funny enough, I think it's been a while since I last saw one of them moving around, or not moving around, on top of a tree, sorry. Almost lost my train of thought there for a second. And these guys also just starting to look for food. It is amazing now that it's nice and warm and then everybody is awake, braving the water coming in. They've literally just crossed the dam onto the other side. Just to start looking for food on the other side. And I wouldn't be surprised if they started looking or trying to open all the dung that's around there, all the elephant dung, just to see if maybe they can also find any undigested seeds. Very loud. Ah. Wonder what it is that scared them off. Couldn't really see anything around here. Interesting, but isn't this a pretty view? Alright, we're gonna leave all these birds around here and we're gonna carry on going straight, seeing if we find anything. Ruth, in the meantime, you're wondering if Hadida is considered a water bird. We find them around water, often around these areas, just because that's where the biggest food concentrations are going to be. But having said that, you can find them in the middle of Johannesburg and in other areas where there are no big dams, and in the same way as in the Sabi Sand. So I'd suppose they need soil because the way that they feed is by probbing, so they have to put their beak inside of the soil. They need soil that's not that hard, soil that's somewhat moist. So I would consider them, yes, like if you find water, there is a very good chance that you'll find one of them somewhere around here. Oh, but before we move off, it seems like all the Impala boys have now decided to maybe brave the water and just come for a drink. You see, these boys, like the ones we were talking about earlier, I'm pretty sure that some of these ones were the ones that were kicked out by the dominant male from the herd that they were born into, and they have pretty much either spent the whole summer fighting against each other, trying to earn a spot in the dominance, or they've pretty much just trying to survive by being all together. So it's very common for Impala to form bachelor herds throughout the year. As you know, there's always safety in numbers. But you see, I always find it slightly funny, or it just proves how clever these animals are. Every time they come into water, they're always wary of the water, and they take a bit of, they take their time. They'll move on to a spot. Maybe this spot is not the one that I should be drinking in, and then they move on to the next, and so on, just because maybe not in this dam, but in many other water sources that there are, they get eaten by crocodiles quite often. So it's not easy for them. I don't think boars or vlad are anywhere around here, so I reckon they're quite safe. Very pretty with those reflections. It's almost like an upside down world. If you were to twist the photo, you wouldn't really be able to tell which way is up and which way is down. I think these guys are also a bit tired. We've just seen them in the background fighting and, sparring with each other and running up and down. So I think maybe this is a bit of a break in their exercise routine this morning. All of different ages. If you have a look at the shape of the horns, some of them are definitely bigger than the others. Some of them are shorter. This is one of, I would call them a 2-year-old. You see the horns are roughly still pointing towards each other. And then we've got one that's slightly older, maybe I would say maybe around 4, because the horns are starting to point away from one another. Laura, yes, they do seem to walk on tippy toes, but this is just because of their hoofs. So they don't have as many toes as some of the other animals. They've actually just got pretty much 2 toes in their hooves, so that's why it seems like they're always very careful where they're stepping. One of the reasons for this particular type of foot is that they can walk very, very silently in the bush. Oh, we've got one that's going very quickly. It's just been jumping around at the back, terrorizing everyone. There's a second terrorist there. Terrorist just because he's terrifying the rest of the Impala, if I may be clear. And what a pleasant morning for all of them. And this time of the year, I think because there are still a few hormones up in the air, and then some of the males are still, just fighting off the last bit of the rut, if there's anything left in terms of hierarchy or wanting to mate with the females. All of the males tend to be quite active, and we always see them bullying the females around, and then they start chasing them, and they chase each other, and then they go up and then they go down, and it's almost like they don't really know what they want to do. But then every now and again you get them in a very nice setting like this one, and they just seem to relax and go back to being a normal Impala almost. Right, I think we're going to leave these boys over here. We're going to carry on in our mission to the eastern sides of Djuma, which is probably one of the few areas we haven't covered this morning, and we'll see what else we can find up there. I think we've spent very good times with this pretty Impala, but I'm sure they also need a break from us. And we'll carry on, see what else there is around there. You never know. Really hoping for some elephants. They seem to have been hiding the last few days. Whoop, there we go. Lots of tracks for them all around, lots of signs that they've been here up and about, but not easy to find them. So let's see. Maybe this afternoon it'll be nice and hot and we'll get slightly luckier with elephants. Very pretty scenery. So the Sabi Sand is a group of many private game reserves that have come together. So part of the way that it's funded is through gate fees. So everybody that comes into the reserve needs to pay a gate fee to come in, just to maintain the gate and the security systems and everything else. But a lot of what and this works pretty much in general for all parks. The other thing that when you come to a park, a national park or a private game reserve, normally you will have to pay a conservation fee or a conservation levy. So it's just an extra fee that people or that the particular reserve will ask you to pay for. Oh, sorry, just a bit bumpy. Will ask you to pay for in order to be able to come into the park. And it's just a way of, well, number one, trying not to make it too widely available, because if there are too many people here, then you start to have limiting the amount of people that come into the park. So you can only have so many people in a certain area at a certain time, just to keep it ecologically friendly, if I can put it that way. But yeah, the Sabi Sand is a lot of private funding, maybe association with other particular enterprises in exchange for either marketing or jobs or this kind of thing. And tourism is really what funds the reserve, all the revenue that's made from tourism that then gets put back into the land. Taylor seems to have beat me to the elephants, and I'm really happy she's gotten to see them, but I want to see if maybe we can find some of her own. So in the meantime, let's get Taylor and the elephants.
We have been searching far and wide for some elephants today. We have traveled quite a long distance, not quite as far as Jamie and Brent have been driving around today, but far enough for the Sabi Sands. And finally, we found some. Only 2 though. Yeah, 2 cows from what I can see. Definitely the one that we're looking at now is a cow. The one on the right, it's tough. It could actually be a young bull too. But I don't know where the rest of them are. And just as we arrived, I did try and sit nice and quietly to see if I could hear anybody else. Because now that it's starting to warm up, the Ellies are starting to move their ears a little bit more. And you can actually hear the sound of their ears flapping against their bodies if you listen very carefully. And also just all the rustling of the vegetation. So actually take a little listen. Here we go. So that's something you've got to pay attention to when you are around in the bush. Even when you are in the car and you're quite safe in the cars, you can often spot or hear animals in the distance, just like where we heard that hyena this morning. We didn't get to see it, but we definitely heard it even over the sound of the rumbling engine. But when you're on foot, it's most important that you use your ears, because you'll often hear something before you even sight it, especially at this time of the year in the long grass. But I'm hoping that there's more elephants around here. Now, I do apologize. I'm sitting in the sun, and I feel the need to take off many layers. So if you do hear some shuffling, it's not the elephant, it is me. I didn't think I was going to get this hot as we arrived in the sighting. But definitely a number of layers need to come off. That's much better. Much better. I may even have to put some sunscreen on. Elephants, shall we go for a mud bath somewhere? Because I'll join you, because I didn't bring my sunscreen with today. So I think I might have to cover myself with a bit of it. And even in winter, it can still be quite harsh and burn the sensitive skin on my body. And even the hippos will have to be a little bit careful. Elephants, not so much. Their skin is nice and tough and nice and thick, so they don't worry about the sunburn as much as what we would. But it's still nice, though, on a hot day to cover yourself with some mud. But that's not what they're doing right now. You can see they're quite focused on just feasting. And they look like they're feeding on grass, which is what most of the diet is made up of. And they're going to eat as much grass as they possibly can until it's all gone, and they have to resort to feeding on some of the less favorable plants that don't necessarily have leaves. For example, all the marula trees are going to drop their leaves soon, and that's one of their favorite plants to feed on. They're going to have to, oh my gosh, they are going to have to, of course, feed on bush willows and all sorts of things. Now, some exciting news that has just been fed into my ear, and I'm sure that Ellie's on her way there. She'll try and get into the sighting. It sounds as like Shadow is on Twin Dams. That's very, very interesting, because we had the male leopard tracks, of course, going along Elephant Carcass towards Twin Dams. I didn't get to see female leopard tracks at all. Very, very nice indeed. So, Ellie, you better be driving like it's a Ferrari safari just to try and get there in time. Hopefully she manages to sneak a spot in as well, because I know that I'm sure there'll be a whole lot of guides interested. And unfortunately, we are too far away to get there. We are right up here on Hippo Falls Road, which is in the northeastern corner, no, I lie, in the far eastern corner of our traverse. We are probably a couple of miles away still. And even if I were to drive like I drive when I chase after wild dogs, probably still only get there in about 10 minutes or so. Hi guys, but you've made our day. You've made Sebastian's request. He wanted to see our thick skin, one of the thick-skinned animals, and here we have it. And we can't be picky, as much as we'd love to see a whole lot of little elephants charging about and storming through the long grass and playing with each other. And that, unfortunately, we can just have these two. So it seems as though Ellie is also very, very far away. I'm not sure whereabouts she's driving. So I don't know if we're going to make it in time, because we have only got about 10 minutes left of this morning's sunrise safari. But hopefully, the guides that are there now will be able to keep tabs on her and find out where she settles down, and we'll most certainly try and follow up on the sunset safari. And it's very sad. As much as we'd love to get there, it's just almost impossible to... Oh, there's an elephant sleeping. Sorry, I'm going to reverse quickly for you, Sebastian. So basically, as I was saying, it's not always possible to get to all the animals. Look here. What? I didn't even see that. Now, It's impossible to see. It's quite difficult, even as I tried to reposition, because it looks like just a little rock in the grass, but you may be able to spot it. It's just in the middle of your frame now. Here we go. You're right on the money. There it is. Look at that. It's a sleeping young elephant, and that sort of explains to me. I was wondering why these girls weren't moving around too much, why they were sort of just standing about feeding in one spot. I thought, oh, the grass must be particularly good here. But that's not the case at all. The reason why they aren't moving about too much is because there's a youngster having a siesta. That's so cool. No snoring coming from this little elephant. Now, don't be concerned. As uncommon as what it is to see a large elephant laying down on the ground, this is not uncommon at all to see the little ones sleeping. Sometimes, the day just gets too much. They've been spent most of the night walking around and feeding, and they just get a little bit tired, and it's almost 10 o'clock. And at this time of the morning, between 9 and 10, I always feel as though I'm the most exhausted. That morning light is so beautiful. It's so warm, especially after a freezing cold evening. So to lay down, stretch out, and have a sleep is perfect. Hello, little one. Just fast asleep. There's its ears there. I think that's the front of its body. Now, Tess, you're wondering if there are any animals that fully hibernate in South Africa. No, I don't think so. Oh my goodness, I just heard the shouts echoing through one of the drainage lines of some more elephants. That was quite eerie. So no, not I think so, not particularly in this area. Maybe if you were to go, say, towards the Drakensberg Mountains, where we sometimes see snow on those mountains, then maybe through the winter months you could. So maybe something like a berg adder might go into full hibernation. But out here in the areas that we drive around on, and even in the areas that I've lived in South Africa, the climate is quite warm. So just that sort of temporary estivation. But again, it's area dependent. And unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunities to explore all over South Africa. So I'm sure there are some spots where the reptiles go to sleep for longer periods of time and then sort of come out. So even our squirrels and things like that, there's no need for them to. It's busy. They do stockpile, and so do the pouched mice and the other rodents and things. They do stockpile food. However, on a warm day, they will come out and go and search for more. But that's mainly just because, and out here the animals will stockpile food, for example, squirrels, just because it gets a bit desperate coming into the winter months and not having any rain. There is very, very little to eat out here. And even if there is some things to eat, you're competing with a whole bunch of other squirrels and birds and other rodents and things that are looking for exactly the same thing that you want to eat. So it's good to have these little hidey holes where you can stash your marula nuts and any other seeds and things like that they would have collected. But that was really nice. I'm so happy that we managed to find our little Ellies and find one little one that is absolutely fast asleep. But maybe they'll come down towards Buffelshoek Dam a little bit later in the morning. I think that definitely might be an opportunity. These guys are moving off. Let me see if I can get one more view. I don't know if we are. It's a bit thick around here still. See if we can get a view of this little one. No, it's so difficult to get a view of that other little elephant that's sleeping, and the others are now all hiding under the bushes. Now, Donald, you were wondering if elephants have an upper lip, or if it's just connected to the trunk. You're quite right in saying they don't have an upper lip at all. Their trunk forms their upper lip, so they've just got the bottom part. And then they chuck that into their mouths, their food into their mouths, grind it down a couple of times, and then swallow it. There we go. You can just see some ears flapping behind the trees now. Now, there could be some more elephants around here too, just out of view. Again, during most of the days, they do spend their times along the drainage line, so I reckon that's where they've been, and we just kept missing all the herds. Okay, little one, let's carry on. Thank you, elephants, for that very quick sighting of you. It was quite lovely. And we'll see what else we can find along this way. Ooh. So I'm sure we're going to see more. I feel like we are going to see some more elephants. We were looking in the right spot this morning too. definitely in the right place. Let's go this way. I'm going to change our route just slightly. Okie dokie. We're going to start venturing towards home. We're quite far away from home. Ellie is trying her luck with searching for a couple of animals just before we have to say goodbye to all of you. So I wonder which animals are going to be on her list.
Well, yesterday at the very, very last second we had a bush baby, so bush baby now would be nice, but pretty much anything we'd be happy to see. I haven't seen many signs of animals around this particular area we're driving in. We just thought we'd cover an area where we haven't been at all this morning, see if maybe that's where all the animals were hiding, but I think they're still hiding a bit further into the bushes. So maybe not too much luck around here. I do believe that you guys managed to see some beautiful elephants with Taylor, so maybe I'll just get, Taylor the elephant whisperer. I'll ask her where I need to go to see elephants, because the last few drives she's managed to see elephants, and well, obviously because I've been looking for them, then I can't find them. Oh, the antenna's still there. But it is beautiful. I think now we're finally starting to see the colors of the marulas going yellow and the deep blue sky of winter. Very nice. I think this is, I freeze, and don't get me wrong, I suffer when it's cold, but I think this is my favorite time of the year to be out on safari. I just think when we have that very soft light, it is beautiful. Cheeky bears, animals often do eat soil or the ground if they feel like there's something that's missing in their organism or their diet, especially if they need minerals. So yes, sometimes we'll see them do it more during the drought because there are less nutrients available in the grass or the plants that they eat. But in normal conditions, sometimes you can also see them doing it. Like even during summer, I've seen often. I would say rhinos are the ones that do it a bit more than other animals, that they eat the ground, and then you'll have giraffe will chew on bones, and everybody else will come, and the porcupines will come and eat bones, and the elephants would also put the soil in their mouths. I think maybe the ones that would not do it are the predators, but the carnivores would definitely try, the herbivores would definitely try their luck at it. See. I'm still waiting to be surprised. What is that? All these pretty bush willows around here. So all these trees that we're seeing around here, very typical of all this area. They're all pretty much in the same family of trees, or the majority of them, and they are all distantly related to the beautiful leadwoods, the ones that managed to stand for thousands and well, maybe not thousands, but for centuries and centuries after they've died. And you see all of them starting to turn their bright green leaves into beautiful orange and yellow leaves. I think the time has come for us to start saying goodbye. We have thoroughly enjoyed having you on this morning's adventure, although a bit quiet, but I think many things pull through. We managed to see the hyenas we've been looking for, elephants we've been looking for, and then of course we'll be on the hunt this afternoon for more leopards or lions or anything else that might come around, because as we saw yesterday, they all start moving around at very unexpected times. So we'd love to see you guys again in the sunset afternoon. We'll see you later on today.